Right, so welcome. Hi there, Mr. Hodge here. And today I'll be doing you a video walkthrough of how to change the oil in your car. Today's model vehicle will be 2014 Corolla, so if you have one of those, great. If not, don't worry. The principles are going to be more or less the same. So some things you are going to need to accomplish this task for today, of course, is your filter. I know, I had to go out and run out and get one today because I bought everything else except for the filter. So don't forget your oil filter. That is a necessary thing for an oil change. You do want an oil catch pan, right? Any kind will do, really. Just be sure it's big enough for the vehicle that you're doing. You will want, at least I'm a big fan of ratchet wrenches. Socket style, because then you can just put it on and it ratchets. Of course, you don't have to take it off and reposition like you do with boxing wrenches. You also might need, and this is might need, for some cars you might need a specialty attachment for your filter itself. Some cars do, some cars don't. This one just happens to be a cartridge filter, so you do need a specific wrench to take the cartridge off and we'll replace the interior of the filter. Also, for cleanup, I do like some kind of a pumice soap. I find them to be the most effective at removing dirt and grease and grime and all that other stuff that you are going to get on your hands. And incidentally, you will also notice my dress. It's not my Sunday best, all right? You don't want to wear nice clothes when you're doing this because it does get a little messy, all right? I know a lot of people like protective gloves. You can use those. Personally, I find them to be optional. I will not be using them today. And also, of course, you are going to need your oil. Personally, I do find that I like the synthetics. They don't break down. I've had this car brand new since 2014, and I don't have any sludge buildup in my engine either. So I do recommend the full synthetic oils. They last longer. They don't break down. However, you are going to want a specific synthetic oil filter because it does pick up dirt differently from traditional, regular oil. All right, so with all of that, let's go ahead and get started. You'll notice that I do have a floor jack. If your car comes with a jack, you don't have to go out and buy one of these, but I find that a good floor jack does work wonders. So we're going to take our oil pan, set that aside. We're going to take our oil pan and we're going to position it underneath of, I need you to, I need you to, baby, I need you to come up here. And we do want our trusty wrench to make sure it is set to counterclockwise because righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And we're going to position it on this and crack the oil pan drain nut. Okay, make sure everything is good. The vent's open, yes. The thing itself is ready to accept oil. Now, what I like to do when I undo this is I like to keep a little bit of pressure on the nut so that the oil just doesn't come out all over your hands, and then boom. Ooh, and that's warm. Okay, get that there where it can catch. All right. Okay. So, we're going to let that drain, and then I will be back with the next segment, which will be linked in the description on this video. So, we'll see you. Okay, so welcome back. Some things that I did while I was waiting on the oil to drain, and these are maybe little life hacks or things like that. But I went ahead and I got my filter seal gasket primed, and what you want to do with that is you want to just take a little bit of oil, just a little bit, enough to get on your fingers, and you want to kind of smear it around the inside of that gasket. And another thing, and this is just a trick that I kind of picked up over the years, if you want to make it nice and neat, helps to keep things clean so you don't have as much to worry about afterwards, is when you open your oil container, and I have a big one here, but when you open your oil container, with these big ones especially, make a nice big slit here across the front, and then poke a little hole on the backside. That allows it to vent so that any of you that have ever tried to glug your oil out, pour it fast, you know you need a vent. So that helps to prevent it from back sucking and then just kind of blowing oil all over the place. At least that's what I found. Right? So we've got our oil drained. We need to go ahead and pull our drain pan out. Okay, at least get it out of the way. You'll notice I just left the nut right there. Actually, we don't need to get it completely out of the way on this car. What you want to do is you want to reposition it so that it's underneath of the filter. Now, then we need our filter wrench, and once again, make sure it is on counterclockwise. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I cannot stress that enough. And you have to jimmy yourself up and underneath of your vehicle. And on this one, the filter is going to be, this is for 2014 Toyota Corollas. The filter is going to be on the passenger side of the vehicle, pretty close to the front wheel, right? Go ahead and take a couple of cranks on that. Crack it loose. Keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. And actually, I need to shift this just a little bit more, just in case. Now, I'm kind of in a rush today, or at least I was kind of in a rush today. But something that you definitely want to do, if you ever go to do this, is don't change your oil right after you ran your car. For one, the oil's very hot, okay, safety first. But for two, it also gives the oil time to settle back into your drain pan, so that you don't get as much oil in your filter when you go to do this. So once again, it helps to keep things real clean. We do like clean. Less to worry about when you go to clean up, less of a mess, less of a hassle. All right, and while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this nut. Jimmy myself back out of here. And I'm getting ahead of myself, actually, so I'm actually kind of making a little bit more of a mess today than I normally do. Which does remind me, incidentally, if that's a concern for you, you can put, I find cardboard works really well, but if you do happen to get some oil on the ground, a little bit of kitty litter goes a long way to help soaking that back up. Yes, kitty litter. Well, what if I don't have a cat? Well, a little bit of kitty litter goes a long way. So if you don't have a cat, you don't need a lot of kitty litter. Put that oil back on, or put the drain plug back on the bottom of your oil pan. Now, be very, very careful with this part. You do not want to over tighten your oil drain plug. You don't want to over tighten that because the metal tends to be like aluminum. In most cases, it tends to be softer. So you don't want to put too much pressure on that because you can strip it and then you got problems. All right? So be very, very careful about that. All right, let's see if I can't get this canister off the rest of the way now, so it's drained a bit. Okay, and I just like to set that right there for the time being and let it too drain out. Wipe up excess oil off of this here. Okay. And how does our oil look? Yeah, see, it's nice and dark. So it was a good time to do this. So that being said, regular oil, and another reason I like synthetic, it lasts a lot longer. You can get probably, if you have really good driving habits, upwards of 20,000 miles on an oil change with synthetic oil. So it's another plus. I mean, synthetic just has all the pluses for the most part. There again, it's not as tacky. I think it doesn't do as good a job at picking up dirt, or maybe the dirt settles out of it more. It's more prone to settling out of it if you let your car set. I forget exactly how a mechanic friend of mine explained it, but there are there's a couple of actual advantages to using regular oil. It's cheaper, technically it's cheaper, but I think if you do the math, typically they recommend with standard, like traditional engine oil, you get about 5,000 miles. So do the math. What do you pay for a thing of synthetic? You get 20,000 miles out of that. What do you pay for regular oil? You get 5,000 out of that. So basically, whatever you pay for regular oil, you have to multiply by 4. And again, that's if you have good driving habits. All right, so let's see here. That's that. So I can haul this oil pan out of here. Oh, we got a mess. This drain pan does not do as good as I had hoped. So, anyway, let me see if I can't get this, there we go. Alright, that can come off of there. And you can go ahead and pop the old filter out. Alright, you just set that aside. You got your canister. Now, you don't have to do this, but again, it's just part of my particular procedure. Is I'll wipe the inside of this out and get as much of that old crusty oil out of there as possible. Now, be really careful when you're using paper towels, incidentally. They can, you can wind up with pieces of that down in your canister, and that wouldn't be very good. Okay. Also, that is one other thing I'm going to want to do. So let me set this back down here real quick. Actually, that'll work nicely. One other thing I guess I forgot to mention is some kind of a screwdriver or needle nose pliers will work in this case too, I do believe. What you want to do, you want to pull the old seal out. Now you can do it like this. Keep a finger there, and then it'll just roll on out real nice in theory. See, there we go. Old gasket, new gasket. Slide it on there. You see how loose the other one was? This one you have to put on and then roll it down into this groove right here. Take your new filter, pop it on there, just like that. And then we're going to be back on our backs to put this into place. Now let me set that there for just a moment because I have to reassemble this. This isn't the wrench that came with it. This is one that I actually found somewhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back under the car.
If I can squeeze myself back under here.
Ow. All right, and then that just goes right back into its slot. You can hand tighten it. Now this one, once again, you do want to prime that seal with just a little bit of oil. Don't put a lot on there. If oil's dripping off of that seal, that's too much. You don't want that much. And speaking of that kitty litter, I'm going to have to go get some because that's not cool.
like I said, I'm kind of in a bit of a hurry today, and I'm making more of a mess than I normally would. Now, be sure you get your wrench off of there with that. You wouldn't want to drive off down the road with that on there. Okay, so we are done underneath of the car. It's the messiest part, right? Having to get down, get up, get down. If you have one of those little sliding dollies, those are actually really nice. But there again, don't have to have one of those. They're just a nice addition. Okay, so be sure you know your engine capacities. I know I've got the big jug of replacement oil. That's just because I do this enough to know that typically it's cheaper to buy it in bulk, and then any leftover you just put in your car the next time. Right? So, this is where we're going to need our funnel. And if you'll bring that over here, I actually want to show the inside of this real quick. This is why I like synthetic oil. So, you shine that right down in here. You'll notice there's not a lot of sludge buildup and stuff on the top of this. I hope you can see down in there, but there's not a lot of sludge buildup. Yeah, there we go. See? And this car is 10 years old. I've had this car for 10 years. All I've ever put in it is synthetic oil. One of my first cars, standard oil, and there would be like this film of sludge that just kind of built up around the top of your engine block. So again, this is why, personal opinion, through many, many years of experience, not that I went to trade school or anything for working on cars, this is just stuff that I picked up over the years. Synthetic is really nice. So what I have here is 5W20. This is a little heavyweight for this car, but that being said, something my father taught me is that, especially with higher mileage engines, you actually want to go a little bit heavier on the weight with higher mile engines or older engines. It helps with the seals and everything else. So again, personal preference, your choice. Don't have to do what I do. Don't have to do what I say. You have to do what works for you. So that being said, let's go ahead and start putting some oil in here. Now what I like to do is I'll put a bit in here first and see how nice and even that's pouring, because I got the vent hole on top. Nice and even it is pouring. But one thing I like to do is I like to add some, and then what I'll do is I'll get back down underneath of the car and I'll check for drips, just to make sure that you put everything back on nice and tight. So give it a moment, give it a moment, give it a moment. Nothing coming out of the filter, nothing coming out of the plug. And another reason for that is sometimes we're in a hurry. You might have forgot to put the plug back in. You don't want to dump all your oil in there without the plug being in there, or else, well, now you're out of car and you have to go get more oil. So be aware of that. And since everything is nice and sealed, oh, look at how easy that's pouring in there. Now, the process with this, relatively straightforward. Put some in, you check it. Put some in, you check it. Because more oil is, I know this sounds counterintuitive, especially for people who are new to cars and car maintenance and stuff like that. Too much oil is really bad for your car. You're better actually to have slightly under the amount of oil than you are having too much. The reason for that is because too much oil will cause problems mainly with your seals. So what you do is you put your dipstick in, you clean it, and then you put it back in real quick and check it. And yeah, what you want is between these two lines, preferably a little higher, or between these two marks. And every dipstick's going to vary, but you have two marks. This is your low, this is your high. You want somewhere in between. Middle of the road is really good, but there again, you want it just a little bit closer to full. All right. Now, when you're first doing this, if you go slightly over, well, best not to go slightly over. So the reason I like to go, I was going to say that because your filter is actually going to pick up some of the oil. And it does do that. In some cars, it's actually really important to keep in mind because it depends on where your oil filter is positioned. Some cars, the oil filter is actually below the pan. So you have to take that into account because when you go to start the car and turn your car over, the oil is going to go into your filter and it's going to fill that up. So if you're close to that bottom line, you might wind up finding that you're running below the low line in your with your oil. So be aware of that. Be aware of your filter type and whether or not it's going to hold oil like that. Okay? Rags. Mechanic's best friend, right? You always want a handy supply of these things laying around. As always, notice every time I do this, it's don't even check it, pull it, clean it, and then stick it back down and see where you are. I don't think we're there yet. Yeah, no, we're not there yet. If I could put that back where it belongs, that would be great. Okay. And if I remember right, it's like 4 and some change quarts on these Corollas with a filter. Honestly, I don't know why they put that into a manual. It's like an oil change without a filter. Why would you do that? I don't know. To me, it makes no sense. Though, I have met people who take their car to a mechanic to get their oil changed, and they've asked me before, are you supposed to change the filter when you change your oil? That's one of those questions where I look and go, is this a serious question? Is this an honest question? Do you have to? Yes. Because, I mean, stop it. What's the purpose of the oil filter? To clean the oil, right? Get dirt and things like that out of your oil as it circulates through your engine and lubricates your engine because it's going to pick up stuff. What good does it do you to put clean oil into a car and then try to run it through a dirty, potentially blocked up filter because, that's why you're changing your oil. It's time to do it. So, logical thoughts, logical questions. I'm full of them. Maybe. So, anyway, it's a process. I know it's tedious. It's a lot of back and forth. But I will say this. You'll get to know your car a whole lot better if you do these kinds of things yourself. In the future, I hope to maybe do brake changes and stuff like that. Tire rotations. Tire rotations are really easy. So just general things you can do in your car. I'm not suggesting that you as a beginner or maybe even an intermediate car or whatever, I'm not suggesting that you get into the practice of taking your engine out, tearing it apart, doing all that. My grandfather used to do that. Sometimes he would wind up with spare parts after he was done. I know, right? It's a funny way of saying he didn't put everything back together. But he did get that 85 Honda Civic of his to run for 700,000 miles or something like that. He actually would wear out odometers in that car. Odometers, plural, right? More than one. He actually did that. Guy used to drive it all across country, but he did all the maintenance on his car himself. So, we're getting there. So it's also part of the reason for doing this way, the constant stop, check, because at first, and you'll notice that, at first I put a bunch of oil in to begin with, right? Now, taking my time, as soon as you start to see oil on the bottom of that dipstick, it means you're getting kind of close. And that right there, we are pretty much midway. So that takes care of that. Okay, now that that. Okay. Now, do not do what some people I know have done. Forget to put this back on the top. don't do that. I set it here because it's right there, right? But again, don't be in a hurry when you're working on these things. You don't have to be in a hurry. You're not in a rush. Be sure you set yourself aside some time, and maybe that's why you are doing this, because you figure, hey, you've got some time to do it. I know some of us get way too busy, but you get into practice, and this process really shouldn't take much more than, I don't know, what are we at right now? About a half hour, 45 minutes? Thereabouts? Okay. Once again, thanks to my lovely assistant. She's doing so well with the camera. Okay? So anyway, you get all of that back on. Let me see here. Engine cap on, plug in, the new filters in. Everything is good to go. All right? Last thing you're going to want to do is be really careful lowering your car back. You don't want to go too fast. That causes problems when you go slow. Right? Always. Nice and easy, nice and mellow with your movements, with your planning, everything else. We're not in a rush. We want to do it. We want to do it right. We want our car to be around for a good long time. So anyway, all that's done. That's that. One last thing that you definitely want to do, right? That is going to be run your car for a couple of minutes. Okay? Very important step. Run your car for a couple of minutes after you do an oil change. Because remember, when I went up underneath of it while it was still there, just after pouring a little bit of oil in, check, hey, is anything leaking? Well, now it's under pressure. So if you didn't do anything right, you're going to wind up with problems. So, check it one more time. I think we're good. Okay. This is also going to give a chance for the new oil to basically do like a pre-flush on anything that was not drained out. And that's why I cut the video, because the draining kind of takes some time. There's really nothing you can do. Well, I mean, there are things you can do. You can do prep work for your next stages while the engine's draining. But anyway, give it a chance to run, give it a chance to pressurize, give that nice, clean, new oil a chance to work its way through the engine. There you go. All right? So, if you found this video helpful, please leave some likes, leave some comments. It'd be even better if you subscribed. And if I left anything out, if you have any further questions, again, feel free to leave some comments. So, thanks for stopping by. This is Mr. Hodge once again. Hopefully I'll be bringing some more DIY videos to you in the future.